Welcome to the UK's first metal detection podcast. It's All Metal Mode UK with your host from across the pond, Mr. Michael Hare.
Good evening, Mike. I'm not very special. Don't worry about that. How are you? In some ways, but all the ones I can think of. Yeah, not bad. Busy working. Getting the up magazine. We've had a lot of interest in the magazine ever since Detectable. So myself doing one side of it's been very, very busy. And I know Luke's been very busy both with work and the magazine too. So yeah, we're doing okay. Very busy. It certainly is. I need a rest though. I need a week off, and I've just finished one.
Almost. It's an easily mispronounceable name. It's Stainton, but hey, that's syntax error. Never mind. Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Close enough for government work, as we say. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be on All Metal Mode UK. Thank you. Well, it's a bit of a story. When I was about 12, I was bought a metal detector for Christmas, little brown thing, can't remember what it was called. And I went out, swung a bit, found an old coin, I think it was a George the Sixth, maybe his fifth. All excited, ran home to show my parents, left my metal detector leaned up against the fence.
Hey, hold on real quick. We're having some issues with audio. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you.
Well, you guys have been hearing me the whole time, but evidently they did not hear me in chat. Please let me know if you can hear me now. I'm not sure what was going on. Somebody let me know. Yeah, you're back. Okay, so I'm back. They can hear me. Thank you, guys. So they didn't hear me, I'm guessing, from the beginning. So real quick, let me back this up a little bit. Next Thursday, the 11th, we will have Gary Blackwell from XP. I always want to say XP Deus. XP as our guest. Then the following Thursday, the 18th, we will have Delic from Macro Nocta. And then I asked the question, how long, Dean, have you been detecting? And go ahead, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, that's all right. No technical difficulties and everything. I was back in about 1980 when I was 12. I was bought a little brown detector. I can't remember what it was called. It worked, and I took it out all excited. And I found my first thing I found was a George the Sixth, I think, old penny. All excited, took it home to show my parents. Left my detector lent up against the fence, wandered in, and then when I came back out, it had gone.
Oh no!
Sadly, yeah, sadly. That was up in Sheffield, in the north of England. So I mean, then various things happened. I joined the military. Etc. etc. And it wasn't until about 2008, I think, I was bored out in it was in the Middle East somewhere, and I was watching YouTube videos, and I happened upon a guy called Deep Digger Dan, who some people love, some people hate, over here in the UK, and it was something to do with the live grenades, so I watched that one. It was interesting. Then I watched a lot of his. So when I got back to the UK, I thought, that looks interesting. So I bought a Garrett Ace 250 starter pack, and whoosh, off I went. Well, when I say whoosh, off I went, it was next door's empty garden. That's where it started, really.
Hey, we gotta pause real quick because I have to ask you were 12 years old. And I have to assume at 12 years old, you had to hope that the guy found an unexploded ordnance and took his leg off, correct? I mean, you had to have been thinking that, right?
I know. It was only, I didn't watch that until 2008. I was a little bit older. But yeah, it would have been... That would have been, I'd say that's why people watch things like that, really, isn't it? You know, sort of, it's not clickbait as much as it's what could happen, what might happen, I suppose.
No, I don't know if we're on the same page. I mean, when you got your detector stolen, you had to hope that the guy who stole it lost a leg on an unexploded ordnance, right?
Yeah, when you said unexploded ordnance, I immediately thought of that. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was half hoping he dig a hole big enough to fall in and never get out.
Yeah, right.
Or I hope he electrocuted himself with it. It was really cool, but yeah, that's how it is, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, on off I went.
Now, what detectors have you used over the years?
Well, unlike most, and not having as much expendable income as some, I've still got the setup I got 10 years ago. So I've still got the Garrett Ace 250, although I have popped, I don't know if you've heard of the coil, it's Maz. It's a Polish make. It's like the Tornado. It's 13.5-inch double depth. I always say that. Double D coil. It nearly gets double depth on the 250, and it does make quite a difference, really. Some would say not. I've still got the same Garrett pinpointer, but I have upgraded to a Blackadder Gladius Black Steel Spade, they're quite cool. They're worth a look. They're indestructible.
Right.
Fair dues, I'll give you that. When we were at Detectival, we met Nathan from Blackadder, and what a tremendous range. And yeah, I had to play with quite a few. I've got one myself yet, but yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, they're brilliant. I'll put a strap on mine because I'm sick. They are, although indestructible, they're a little heavy. So, and I tend to drag mine behind me as I sweep. I don't know whether you do that, Dave, or anything. Or how you carry your spades.
I've got mine. I've got some zip ties, and I got an old bag handle and zip tied it on either end and carry it over my shoulder.
That's exactly what I've just done to mine. I've zip tied an old bag handle. It's like a bag.
I drag mine behind. Over here in the United States, it's I'm going to probably have him on next week, which is the name just escaped me. Predator Tools. George Leshy. He's been making digging tools and shovels for years, and they're incredible. But I hear about your guys' was it Blackadder?
Well, is it Blackadder or Blackadder?
Well, it's actually Black ADA.
Black ADA,
And
okay.
because I was actually calling it Blackadder and Blackadder, and he said, David, it's Black ADA. Well, there you go.
It's not linked to Rowan Atkinson in any way, shape, or form. Then ah dear, they could bring out the Blackadder Baldrick, couldn't they?
The Blackadder turnip.
The pinpointer, or I'm sorry, what pinpointer are you using? I'm wondering what's lasted so long.
What was 2008? It's done me 10 years. It's the original, the first type. I call it the Mark One Garrett pinpointer, the black one.
Yeah, that's.
I've replaced the micro switch because that's the main thing that goes with them. That's the weak link. I'm an engineer and I've got a mechanical and electronic background, so that was easy to solder a new one in. And I actually did one for Jeff, Cromwell 13469, I think it is. I repaired his. He lives out in Europe somewhere. And I repaired his and sent it back out to him. I
got a little funny thing to add to that real quick. I myself am using the original Garrett pinpointer.
Nice one. Yeah,
yes.
Nothing wrong with them.
They will hold up. They hold up so good. Mine gets on the fritz a little bit. It's like we're like an old married couple. We have our good days and bad days some days, man.
And of course, when it goes wrong, you talk to it, don't you? You tell it to stop playing up. You tell it to
and then bang it on the floor. We've had a question in the chat room from Andy Sampson asking what does ADA stand for. Now, don't quote me because I might have the last letter wrong, but it's I think it's Advanced Detection Accessories.
Yeah, that sounds about right, actually. Do you know what? Now you said that, I think I've seen that somewhere. It is advanced detecting accessories. Yeah.
So I had this conversation with Nathan, one of the owners, and I'm sure that's what he said to me.
It is, as I say, they're a little heavy, but when we had the dry spell recently, it cut through the dry earth. And I mean, if you're going to start digging on paths or like sort of field, on where the tractor's been or where the Land Rovers are, they cut a path. When it's really compact, you have to really get it in there, but it does the job. Oh, are we getting? Are we on commission with Black ADA?
Unfortunately, I'm still using one of the old the hardware store ones myself.
Yeah. Well, mine lasted ages. They're still good. I mean, they're used for digging, aren't they?
Well, that's just it. With regard to that, I'm still using it. I've had it now for about 6 years. Yeah. When it breaks, then I'll look at going to Blackadder and getting something. Because we were actually looking at them, and obviously they have a wide range, and they are, for me, having difficulty bending over. They've got tall, really, really tall ones now in stock, which is perfect for me.
You want? I find that although the T handle on mine is brilliant for banging down the clod, I just spin it over and use the T to smash down the clod.
Good idea. Yeah, fair
play. But for like sort of. I didn't realise I'd had a couple of hunts over a couple of weeks, and my wife said, "What them bruises on your thighs?" I'd been digging, and as you jump up and dig in, they'd been hitting me thighs, and it bruised me thighs, the T handle bit. So I think maybe if I did get another one, if I needed to, if it ever failed, I would look to get one with the D handle, maybe more grip or something.
So Mrs. Stainton actually thought that you weren't really going to take
it was an element of surprise. She's the only one that sees me thighs. Well, unless we're on holiday, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Right, you have to put a picture on Facebook now, won't you?
It's unfortunate that I've healed. My contusions are no more, as it were. But yeah, that's my setup, really. It works well for me. As you know, with the Garrett, then they're not. It's not a Deus. It's not a Cruiser. It's not a Equinox, if I dare say it. But because it's or the what's the one Craig uses? Craig Benny. Anyway, it's not as sort of accurate in as much as it's got not as many tones. But I've had a few good ones. As many have, really, with the old 250 or the 200 eyes, 300 eyes, 400 eyes now. Yeah. Not a bad setup at all.
Hey, if it works for you, that's
Yeah.
Something I find often that I think people make a big mistake is they have a bunch of different detectors, or they get one and they don't learn it. It is so much more important to know your detector inside and out than having a $1,000, $2,000 detector. So it's amazing what can be done with a entry level detector. It's amazing if you learn it.
And you use the word learn. Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning I'm probably a bit of a slow learner. I'd learn it in 10 years. But I mean, I didn't get out a lot for the first 2 or 3. I mean, we came down here 4 or 5 years ago, and I've started to get permissions around here. So my hunt to work ratio is improving. But I'm still learning the machine. When you think, I can, I know what that is now. I can, but sometimes you think, should I ignore that signal, or should I dig it just in case? And I have dug those that I thought I won't, I will, and they've been good stuff. So.
Got a little story from Detectable while you're there. What's his name? Luke spoke to a gent. Luke went on a mission after it ended and walked around the whole campsite talking to someone, and he spoke to a guy who actually had a pair of Roman leg manacles, and this guy said specifically he digs every target. He said we'll go out some days and he won't touch anything else but iron. And some of the things that he's found, like these very, very rare Roman leg manacles, which he showed us and Luke made a video of, phenomenal find, just because he directly looked at the iron targets.
Yeah, I must admit, just recently I've changed tack a little, and sort of I don't dig as many iron targets as I did, and I'm finding I am finding less interesting things. I mean, I found a while ago. I found it was I thought it was a fish ring. It's in one of my videos, and I thought, what's this? It's like it was a koi carp curled into almost like a person's ring that you'd wear on your finger, of course. And I searched and searched, and I put it on the page, and I sort of, people were confused, and then I realised I was flicking through something, and I saw a candle holder, the old ones that you'd imagine Wee Willie Winky carries.
Yeah.
Thing. And the finger piece of that, I found a gold one which, on the internet, which is a shame. Mine was brass, but boom, it was it's brass target. It wasn't a bad signal, but I would have possibly left it behind. Really, it's things like that. Weird looking thing, ugly thing as well, but I love it. I've still got it in my bag actually.
That's what the good thing is about metal detecting. Primarily people think that you're after coins. People who aren't involved in the hobby, you're after coins, you're after treasure. But it's all the little things, the small bits like that, the small bits like people find. I've got things here which I'll never throw away because they're meaningful to me. Some people might think they're somebody else's scrap bucket, but to me, fantastic. And again, it's each to their own. Again, with the individual thoughts regarding metal detecting.
It is, and each item has its own story. And what you're doing, you find it, you're adding to it, you're popping it in your in your display cabinet and embellishing on it, or you can you make your own story. Really, a lot of the things, if you notice, I don't know if you noticed, Mike, I tend to talk a lot about the Great Mouse Wars. And,
yes.
Well, when you find something, it's not exactly the most interesting thing. It's a cap up, maybe it's an axle hub cap thing, and you think, well, that's not very interesting. I'll make it interesting. It's the helmet from a mouse from the Mouse Wars. And I get.
Some have been reading too much Teddy Pratchett.
Perhaps I have. I don't know, really.
No, but the likes of that though, don't you think it's for us people who are involved in the hobby, we all have that little area where we keep our stuff. I mean, I'm sat in my office now. My shed, for instance, where people who've had loads of cars display all their old registration plates. All the little things like that you can put on your wall. You can make a fantastic exhibition in your shed of your not so interesting finds that to you are still interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking points. Somebody might pop in this borrowed tool and they go, "Oh, what's that?" Oh, well, that's in that box. There is a 17th century. No, it's the 16th century. 16th century silver gilded spur. Oh, really? That's on the pads. Things like that. And what's in that box? Bottle caps. What's in that box? Ring pulls. What about that box? Cow tubes. I don't know why I've got them. But
also, I mean, you also save all these things, and some of them you can't identify. At some point, you will come across it somewhere on the internet when somebody's putting all the images up, and you'll be able to find out what it is, and it might end up being that elusive, amazing thing.
Exactly. Or, like, I think I found on the big slope field by my rectory, I found, not my rectory, but, the rectory, I found, about 20 of these little plastic boxes with aluminium tape on them, and they look like nozzles or something, whatever they are. Nobody has a clue what they are, and I think it's a field that's just used for hay, really. So I'm thinking it's a machine, but nobody could. It's one of those things. Eventually, I will identify them, then I'll throw them away. This is bits of plastic, but, or maybe I'll make a display.
I know a guy that was finding these brass pins pretty much by the bucket full. I mean, it was nothing to go out and find 20, 30 of them at a time. And he had no clue what they were, and he was just throwing them away. He's like, I don't know what these are. Well, come to find out, they were I can't remember the exact name of them, but they were firing pins for cannons from the Civil War. And here he had thrown buckets of them away. And here they're worth anywhere. I mean, not that he sells anything, and I don't sell anything, but each one of them are worth between $10 to like $25, depending on the condition of them. And he was just throwing them away by the bucket load. So I always tell people, keep a hold of it. You never know.
Yeah,
you just
until
never
you
know.
Identify it. Never throw it away, because it could. I've got something I think is a Roman hobnail, and I forgot about it. I found it in the pit. I actually found it underneath the seat in my car because it fell out of the box. So I need to get that seen by the our local fines liaison officer. If it is, brilliant, it gets recorded. If it's not, it goes in the iron bin and gets taken to the scrap man.
I've done the same myself. I've got a pen, and it ended up being, I took it to Vanessa Oakton, who was at the time my fines liaison officer in this area, and it turned out to be an Iron Age pen. Fantastic. That's on the point of antiquity. Again, meaningless to some people, but to me, I've actually found something that's like pre this.
Well, exactly. It means a lot to a lot of people, and I mean that gets onto the portable antiquities scheme, doesn't it? And the database. And what's the other one? I forget the other one. But these things we find that have significant importance. They're being recorded for people generations to come to admire, because eventually they will rust to nothing, won't they?
Well, as I try to say to people regarding the fines liaison portable antiquity scheme, at the end of the day, people who are archaeologists and are studying certain areas could just pop onto there, put the postcode in, find out all the things within a certain amount of area, and actually get an overview of what that area was to assist in their personal studies. Yeah.
Well, that spur was the first one found. That it was 15th or 16th century. It was pretty battered, and they've called it white metal embellishment, but that's fine. But that is the only one found that I can see in this area. So it adds to the picture, or the rich picture, if you like, of various areas. And as you say, archaeologists who are studying these areas can put all those together to form a picture. I mean, the area, I think the land was first granted in 962 in what sort of, in the area I'm currently searching. So it's, a little bit of history there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, while there's a second, I wanted to jump in. You mentioned the Mars coil.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys know this, or some of our listeners, I'm sure do. Mars MD, from my understanding, was bought out by Nell. And
really?
I have heard people. Now, I am not a big aftermarket coil fan. If the manufacturer makes a coil, I will stick with them. But I've heard great things about Nell and Mars MD. I know people who prefer the Mars MD over the Nell, and I don't know what it's like there, but here in the States, Nell is the big name.
Yeah, there's the blimey, there's the Tornado, the Hunter. There's various, there's elliptical double D. I just find weight wise, it adds 150 grams, I think, to the standard. Well, the standard 250 coil, the small one. I sort of got the pack which had the larger one, the 9x12, and that. The reason I upgraded was because I did a lot of long grass detecting for a while, and I snapped the boss. And I'd been looking at one for a while, so I thought, I'll get one of those. So I did, and it's been fantastic because it gives a bigger, broader sweep. You can cover more ground quick, and you do get a certain amount of extra depth. But I would agree with you also in the respect that if the manufacturer makes a coil, it's designed to sit with that machine. So, it's kind of, thereabouts, really.
Yeah. I'll use a coil from the manufacturer first in most cases, but, sometimes there's need for a different size coil and the manufacturer doesn't make it, but,
Yeah, it was the size that swung me. But, I'd used the 9x12 for quite some time, and that was better than the sort of standard, the stock coil, if you like. Gave improved depth and sort of size of sweep, I suppose. But, yeah, I've been really happy with the Maz. Well, I call it Maz. Maz, tomatoes.
Right. Exactly. Whatever works.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what part of the country are you in?
If you looked at the United Kingdom, as a boot, I would be in the toe.
Okay.
So, the southwest. It's Somerset, Devon, Cornwall, where the cream tea comes from. Where
the decent cider comes from.
Yeah, where the cider comes from. Oh, yeah, it's good. Farty cider, marvellous. Where have you heard of Poldark? The sort of... It's a costume drama that was filmed here. King Arthur apparently came from here.
Oh, cool.
Oh, Tintagel.
Do you remember the summer tour, Mike? The archaeology and metal detecting summer tour where we done the statue of King Arthur and all that on the video.
Yeah. Yes.
That's not far from Yeovil.
Just up north. I do a lot of riding around the southwest because I'm in a regional riders competition with the Vespa Club of Britain, don't you know? And we do a lot of riding about, and so we visit all these places, and there's some stunning countryside. It's beautiful. But as you say, most important thing, Dave's right. This is where the cider comes from.
Is
it good cider? Good.
Well,
cider?
I brought 5 litres of Scrumpy Jack home from when I went in the summer, and we had 2 friends round, and between the 3 of us, one. His kids actually thought he'd had a stroke. So, yeah, it's good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you have to be careful drinking it. You've heard of Baby Sham, haven't you?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, either really. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You must have heard of Baby Sham. Yeah, exactly. The advert, I'll have a Baby Sham. Well, you know that it was the animal was a deer, wasn't it?
Yes, like a Bambi.
Yeah, a Bambi. Well, they used to have a big Bambi, the Baby Sham animal, outside the brewery, and that's still there. I ride past it when I go up to Bristol. It's quite unnerving to see a massive plastic deer, as you ride past. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, in Shepton Mallet is the brewery. That's where good cider is made. Dry blast, etc.
Sam's brewery I went to.
Oh yeah, well, mind you, we get most of our cider from farms. We just nip down the road, pop into a little farm shop with an empty plastic, 5-litre drum, and they fill it up for you. Boom.
Jealous.
Honestly, and to be fair, it's I don't know about a stroke. I
don't know if you heard our live one from Detectival. Got a lot of Polish friends from Team of Yorkshire, and they were all at Detectival. And 7 o'clock in the morning, one of them was making me drink pear homemade Polish vodka, and then I was kidnapped on the Saturday night and forced to go to one of the vans with one of them, and he actually gave me a Homemade strawberry Polish vodka. So that's sat there at the moment waiting for me to have a stroke.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've had some of that. And Turkish vodka is interesting. It's called raki. Mind you, we're getting off the subject now, aren't we?
We're still good.
Alcohol, metal detecting, it's all the same.
Yeah.
I used to have a T-shirt that said, "If raki is the answer, what on earth was the question?"
That's funny. Here in the United States, we do a lot of our own moonshine, and then I make some apple cider that's pretty good.
That'd make me blind.
It'll make you blind. Yeah, it will. I remember one time. I know we're getting way off subject. I made we were making it, and we were getting. Let's say our final was probably somewhere between 134 proof, and we redesigned how we did it, and we were getting like 170, 180. And my first time with 170, 180, I would mix it. Obviously, you don't want to drink that because it'll kill you. Kill you, but it'll make you, snot coming out of your nose. You can't see, kind of thing. So you mix it, and I just wanted to have a good taste and a nice little buzz. And I got 3 in, and I still had no buzz, and I'm like, what is going on? And I finished my 3rd drink. I made a 4th, and I felt nothing at this point. Halfway through the 4th one, I fell down. I couldn't get back up. I was there forever. I couldn't see straight, and it lasted about 7 hours where I couldn't communicate properly. I couldn't walk or anything. So yeah, we got a little something different, but I think we got something comparable,
Oh dear. Yeah. We do like our drink. Dave, Mike, can you just give me a minute? I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. Go take off. Go do whatever.
We're talking about cider now, obviously.
You've talked about cider. I'm drinking San Miguel, sadly enough, and I need a comfort drink.
That might be a new requirement, Dave. Is if our guest drinks, they need to have a few drinks before. That's always just going to make for a funner show.
Do you know that they've done a TV show in the UK where basically they got celebrities drunk and then basically asked them to act out a historical thing? Absolutely hilarious.
Oh, I bet.
If I find it on YouTube, we'll get that over to you.
I would like to see that. That is funny. Yeah, I think get the guest a little bit, lubed up good, and then probably have funner shows.
You never know what'll happen.
Right. Might have to mark them explicit, but you guys do like your alcohol over there, don't you?
I wouldn't say like me alcohol, but yeah, I like me alcohol. No, right. I used to drink a lot more than I do these days. Obviously, getting older and whatnot, and alcohol being there in, real ale in the UK at the moment, it's gone absolutely massive with all the microbreweries and such like. So it's so easy to be there. So, but no, I don't actually drink as regularly as I could be made to think. Once a month, twice a month at tops, I think.
Yeah, I've calmed way down. My 20s, I was a heavy drinker, but when you get kids and everything else, you got to kind of slow it down and be a little more responsible and all that. So,
oh yeah, I'm back in the room.
Kevin,
yeah, no, we only talk about alcohol a little bit.
Kevin said there should be a special segment called Lubricated Stories. I agree. We need to do that. Absolutely. We, just have a 5-10 minute little thing going on. Yeah, Laura said all metal mode drinking game shot every time someone says detector. It's funny because on the US podcast I do just all metal mode, I say relic machine a lot, and some of my listeners have turned it into a game. When I say relic machine, they take a shot. So yeah.
Well, They can start playing the game, whatever the word is. They can
Yes.
start playing the game now.
Yep. If you guys want to do it, pick a word and we'll do it. Because I've really tried to calm it down some on Relic Machine. You know, they made me realize just how much I say it, so you try to calm it down a bit. But you have that.
I think the only problem with having an all metal mode drinking game on a Thursday night would be that we've all got to go to work on a Friday morning. So maybe we change it to a Friday night.
We could do that. Well, no, I couldn't do it Fridays. I do it Thursdays now because Steph works, or Steph's off of work. She takes Thursdays off, and so I got the kids during the day and all that. So it's tough. I'm a stay-at-home.
Yeah.
Did you know I'm a stay-at-home dad, Dave?
Whoa.
I didn't know, but obviously with you being active daytimes a lot, I presumed.
Yeah,
That's
I make custom headphones, I sell metal detectors, and I take care of the kids. And let me tell you, I wish I didn't work from home. Because I've got an 8-month-old baby, and he is a handful. And I now homeschool my 9-year-old stepdaughter. That's amazing.
Wow.
But when you got 2 kids and you're trying to get work, most of my headphones get built in the middle of the night. So if any of my listeners have a pair of my headphones and they're acting up, of course I'll fix them, but understand they were probably built somewhere between 2 and 5 in the morning. So yeah, it gets a little crazy around here sometimes. But back on the subject.
Yeah.
So, do you mostly hunt alone? Do you have a hunting partner or hunting partners, or what do you do?
I'm a loner normally. Yeah. I went up to join West Country Craig Denny up there by Bristol just the once. He could come down here. He's not he hasn't got a car, so he can't get down. He's always welcome. But the two sort of permissions I have, I mean, they're only small. They'll do me for the time I have to hunt, which is mostly in the afternoon, well, mostly at lunch times, and a little bit at weekends. One is run by a farmer who doesn't allow metal detectorists on his land, but because I was researching something that happened on their farm, it was I was a special case, so I was quite lucky to get on there. Nobody, it's not been done before, and the other one is reasonably similar. It's an old 12th century rectory by a 12th century church. They sort of sit together, and I was lucky to get on there because I helped out at the church, and the church warden mentioned to the lord and lady who live in the rectory that I was a metal detectorist, and they said, they mentioned that I should pop in and have a look, which was nice of them. So, my permissions aren't massive, so hence the reason I kind of generally work alone. I haven't got, like some, great swathes of lands to wander across, which is fantastic for those who have, and can actually, bring people on. It's a little harder for me. But yeah, gotcha. So I'm a solo runner.
Are you looking to expand out any? Find some more lands, or is it really hard where you're at? Or
slowly but surely, we all know how it is. It's not just. Sometimes you can be lucky to knock on a door and the farmer will say, "Of course, pop along, come on in, dig holes in my fields." But generally speaking, it's more getting to know people, giving them a reason to let you on. As I say, that the first permission I got here, which is it's a massive farm, but I only have a small area of it, and I'm sort of working on that, was because I was researching. Here's an odd story. I sit across from a guy called Trev, who might be listening. I don't know. He's subbed to my channel, and he does watch my videos. And he passed me over a story he just printed off. So he said, "Here, read that." So I read it. I thought that's interesting, and it was about, in the 1800s they used to thrash corn or whatever it is with a big machine powered by a massive belt from a steam, effectively a stationary train. You get the picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this day, I think it was February 1895 on the farm. I nearly said it then. On the farm I detect, the first one I got, first mission. They'd been working. It was pretty cold. They'd been working for 4 or 5 days non-stop. It was about, according to the records, about -4, -5. The river had frozen, and they were just having lunch. Some of the guys had gone home, and the driver had fiddled about with various safety valves, etc., to get this old machine, because in the late 1800s, farming wasn't as profitable. Or was getting less profitable, etc. And so he'd fiddled about with the safety valves to make the engine work harder. The guys, I think 4 or 5 of them, sat around having they were probably eating apples, bread, and drinking cider. I would imagine. I'm just guessing, but that's kind of the thing they were paid in cider generally. And unfortunately, the boiler failed. It exploded. Fired 25, I think it says yards, into the air, and landed about 100 yards across the field. Sadly, killing 3 of the workers and the driver. Now, as I was reading through this, I said to Trev, the driver's name is Joseph Hahn. And he said, yeah. So, well, you're Trevor Hahn. He said, yeah. He's my great-great-grandfather. So, oh, my God. Wow. That's it's quite. And he said, but we never found where they buried him, or where the people that killed were interred. So I said, well, funnily enough, because he'd give me the story, because I love researching, finding things out. So I got to work, went across to the local museum, asked about, found out a few, got to know a few people, went to the farm in question, It is the farmhouse isn't the farmhouse now, if you know what I mean. The people who run the farm live somewhere else, so the farmhouse is rented out. So I spoke to the lady, and she said, "Oh yeah, when we moved in here, we were given an old newspaper which had pictures of the incident, which might help me find where it is." Oh, I thought that's interesting. So I said, "Would you mind if I poke around?" She said, "Well, you'd have to speak to the landowners." So I went and spoke to the landowners. And that's when they said, we don't really let metal detectorists on the land. However, because you're sort of researching this, it's very interesting. Which she said, her words were, "We'll let you poke around." So I did, poked around, and they sort of, to cut a long story short, it's long enough already. I made a little leaflet about the incident, but effectively a little bit of history, the incident, who was involved, what happened, I think, I don't know if you know this, Somerset, but it was Martock and Sherborne fire crews that turned up, and the information from them was interesting, because they said they had to break through 4 inches of ice to draw water for their engines. Ironically, they were steam engines as well. So I made this little sort of leaflet, pamphlet, whatever, and gave it to the local museum. So that got me brownie points. And I've been sort of on there ever since, really. But the best thing that came out of it was that I found where Trev's great-great-grandfather was interred. And it was, ironically enough, in the cemetery by where he lives. So the family could finally, well, Trevor and his descendants could finally sort of, go and pay their respects, I suppose. That was the best bit for me, really. So there you go, little story.
That's a fantastic tale as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, that was good. And, that's the way I kind of like to, well, not like to get information. I'd like to knock on a door and for the farmer and say, have these huge swathes of land. But, that's me. I'm foot in the door. Last Christmas, I took him a bottle of wine and a card, as you do, This Christmas, I'll do the same for the 2. But, yeah, it was sadly, though, it was only the driver who, because he was from the area Trev lived in, I couldn't, I knew where the other 3 guys were interred, but because it was just a long time ago and they would have been paupers' graves, I couldn't find them. But the saddest thing was that because they were, I forget what it's called now, because they were farm labourers and because they were working for the farm, they had accommodation. One of the guys, the only one I could find anything information out, his wife and 6 or 7 children were just chucked out. They just and it goes on because they went to Wales, where I think they tried to find work in the mines, and then they came back. But they were all boys. All 7 boys fought at the front in various ways, shapes, or form. I forget. Embarrassingly, I forget if any of them survived. And I think she was recognised. I think it was a local lord sorted her out accommodation. He found out about it and got them back here and got them accommodation because he said this is disgusting, that type of thing, But they only had accommodation because they were working on the farm. Sad, really sad times.
Yeah, I have a friend who his grandparents lived in southern Ohio, and his grandfather was the mine's blacksmith, and he died suddenly. And the mine, in the United States in that time, turn of the century, late 1800s, turn of the century, they were known to be very, they were not fair. And he died, and they were like within a day or two kicked out of the company.
Yeah.
That was the company house. So
quite
disturbing that people are treated that way. But
human beings. I can't remember the phrase that it's inlay or something. It's a phrase they use to basically put them all into a pot. That saddened me. But at least I got some result. Trevor loved it when I gave him a copy of the leaflet, and he said, "Oh, God, blimey! I didn't realise that. I didn't realise this." Yeah. So it was one of the coldest winters on record. I think 1895.
If you've still got any of them leaflets left, I wouldn't mind having a peruse one myself.
I've got it digitally, actually. I'm sure I've got it digitally at work. Have I got it on my laptop? Yeah, I'll fire that across, actually.
I'd appreciate that, thanks.
Yeah, let me take an action, Dave.
Yeah, that's a neat story. Tell me about some of your favorite finds.
Oh, well, now.
Here we go.
Here
we go, Dave.
No, you'd say, here we go. But I haven't found much great, actually. My best find is probably my one and only Roman coin. It's a Roman copper alloy numus of the House of Constantine, or Constantine, depends on how you pronounce it, dating AD 330 to 335. It's on the PAS, it's on the Portable Antiquity Scheme. I'm not conversant with the periods, but apparently it's Reese period 17, if you know that. So it's only 1700 years old, but that's my oldest. I think that's my favourite. Well, when I say my favourite, I've got quite, as Dave says, I've got a garage full of little favourite bits. I've got a piece of glass with some writing on, which I find fascinating. I've got, the fish ring. Well, I didn't call it that. I think Derek Naylor called it that, the fish ring. But oh God, what else? All sorts of things. I found a squashed animal trap. That was fascinating. Not one of my best finds, but a weird thing. I found a couple of bullhead William the. Oh God, not William the Third, is it? Oh, I'm going to embarrass myself now. I've completely forgotten.
You're fine. You're fine.
Is it George the Fourth, Dave?
No, we used to have to me. I don't know a thing about metal detecting. I rely on Luke.
Yeah, you do it all the time, don't you? I do it all the time on, when you do a video and you go, this is in my finds box, I've got a list of all the monarchs, and so I can help. It helps me identify. So it gives more sort of bearing to what you find. George IV, I think, the bullhead. People would be going, oh, we don't know George IV. There's blimey. I found 2 silver shillings.
Bullhead to William IV.
William IV, that's it. Thank you, mate. Thanks for.
Don't phone me. I'm on chatting there, Kev Marchese said.
Oh, they said, yeah. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, Oh, I just didn't think about that. Yeah, I found two together, and because they were two silver coins together, the sort of main part of the story is that they were taken by the flow because of the old Treasure Act, because they were found together and they could have been left for somebody to go back and collect them. As it was, ironically enough, no museums wanted them, so so I got them back. But they were nice. That was quite exciting. That was my first, I say, silver coin spell, I suppose. Cool, blimey. I've got loads of. I found a round from an Oerlikon gun, which is a naval anti-aircraft gun.
Oh.
Yeah, well, because it wasn't a complete round, it was a fired casing. But then I found another one that I thought was the same. So I said on video, oh, another one of those. And when I got it home and put it next to the other one, it was a different size. So I had to do a bit of research. It turned out to be a different gun altogether. I do find a lot of casings, shall we say, because my fields are close to a military establishment. I'm going to, yeah. So that's
That's really cool. I didn't know you was close to a military. That's neat.
Yeah, which leads me into my most interesting find, but relevant find. I found a jet engine turbine blade.
Oh, wow.
And then I found another one. And because it's a naval establishment, I took it to their flight safety guys, and they, from one turbine blade, they narrowed it down to 3 aircraft, which I forgot now. I think Meteor, Vampire, or another one anyway. And obviously, because it's part of an aircraft, it could have a bearing on crash investigation. So I have to take them in. It's got kind of like
talking about aircraft, what have you. I actually was pointed out from the National Council for Metal Detecting some new updates to the aviation archaeology the other day, which I published on the magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very interesting. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Carry on.
No, that's interesting to know, because I'm not of a naval persuasion. I'm more of an air persuasion, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I've been for over 30 years. And I'm actually the only reason I knew what it was because I'm an engine man. So
I'm an aircraft fitter by trade.
Oh yeah, really? Well, I see.
Hey,
what's the phrase? Great minds think alike and all that.
Certainly do.
Yeah, I've always lived it. But yeah, that's. I mean, I found bits of. It's been open since 47, I think. No, it might even be earlier, 39. Anyway, not sure. But I find bits of, you'll know, I found bits of rib, little bits of all sorts, sort of as if something's smashed in and broke to bits. But only little bits, not worth giving in and stuff. But I find quite a bit of that. I think you can see on some of the videos, I say, this isn't worth handing in. Oh, this is. This might be. But I say, I think I found 2 turbine blades now. So, yeah. Oh, actually, one might be an NRV. I digress.
Hey, guys, let's take a quick break. It's about a minute and a half. If you got to use the restroom, you need to get another drink, another cider, whatever. But we will be back in a quick minute and a half.
The Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine acts as a hub for information, offering articles from archaeologists, detectorists and other specialists throughout the genre, featuring many links, event info and news articles associated to archaeology and metal detecting. We also offer professional review services and promotion for books, resources, videos, documentaries, gadgets, equipment and much, much more. The magazine is run by the archaeological and metal detecting community for the archaeological and metal detecting community. So come visit us at archmdmag.com, that's archmdmag.com, and check out information from our media section with all the latest content, news from the Archaeology channel, podcast and the YouTube channels that feature the now legendary Digger Dawn, the Man with the Hat and Archeo Duck, just to name a few. If you would like to offer an article, link or inquire about other services, then pay us a visit at archmdmag.com and drop us a line.
Hello.
Hello. We appreciate that, Mike, as are yourself.
Yeah.
I've sent that inbox to Dean as well.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very
No
much.
problem.
I'll have a good look at that.
Am I back? He's falling down a hole. Yeah, I think I'm back. Should be. That time I left my mic muted. That's my bad, guys.
Can everybody hear myself? Because Luke's telling me to talk. And Mike's saying, Kev's saying that you're not there still, Mike.
Yeah, here.
No,
They can hear
Andy
me now.
Sampson
Good
says
deal.
you're there.
Yeah, that time I had my mic muted. I apologize, guys. I muted it for the thing, but you didn't miss much. Anytime I'm talking, you're not missing much. So.
Look, Luke's saying nasty things about me at the moment.
Yeah. He said, Dave, talk shit like usual. That's not nice, Luke. Come on, Luke.
That's the thing. I borrowed that man my headphones.
What? Tell us about some of your other interesting finds. You know, when I ask that question, you don't. You know, it's what's special to you or what really. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't care. We don't care about what it's worth or how old it is. You know, it's. I love asking that question because I really get some really neat answers. I know a guy up in Northeast United States who. He's found stuff from the Civil War, Revolutionary War, amazing artifacts. I mean, incredible artifact collection. And one of his favorite is a naked lady pipe. What's that called for a pipe tamper?
Pipe tamper.
Yeah, that's like his favorite thing, and I, you know, it's really cool because this guy has some and it is cool piece. Don't get me wrong, but it's amazing sometimes what people's favorite finds are.
Oh yeah, I mean, by the rectory, it's an old school, but it's somebody lives there now, so it looks as like it's come over the wall. I found it's about 3 inch in diameter. It's like a brass disc with a little hinge, and it was obviously either from an inkwell cover or something of that nature, or a key lock cover, and it had a local furniture maker's sort of stamp in there. And it was for school and office furniture, so it was clearly from when they cleared the place out. But that's one of my sort of. It's not my most favourite find, but that was fascinating because it clearly had a story, and it's on one of my videos anyway. I sort of found pictures of the company, and so I love finding something, researching it, and then slipping the old pictures into the video, and a bit of information, that type of thing. Some people like it, some people skip through it. Obviously, you can't please all the people all the time, as they say.
Right. Yeah. I like the things that are personal. Those are my favorite usually.
Yeah, but when you think, you find a penny from the 1800s, and you think, it's just a little old brass penny, but somebody might have dropped that, and that might have been their, I don't know, month's wages, or it's just that sort of. There's a story with everything, and that's especially when you find silver and gold, blimey.
Yeah.
You immediately think of the lord of the land riding across on his horse, and it's spun out of his pockets. But that could quite easily have been somebody who'd sold the contents of the house to move somewhere else, type thing, and then lost it.
What about them peculiar finds that are totally not in the area they should be? I've had a Anglesey token.
Yeah.
In the middle of Cheshire. I had a Nazi Reichspfennig in Shropshire.
Yeah.
Completely in the wrong place.
Yeah, exactly. I've had a couple of 10 and 1 5 French centimes from the 1800s.
Wow.
And I thought, what on earth are they doing in a Somerset field? But then I realised that towards the late, history buffs will have to help me out here, 1860s, 1880s, it was illegal to be a Protestant in France, apparently. So a lot of them came across to escape death, I suppose. So they must have brought the money with them. But I mean, that's from a historical point of view. But from a weird point of view, light bulbs, a light bulb base, is right in the middle of a field. What on earth is a light bulb base? And metal detecting face Sandy up there in Scotland, he's always finding light bulb bases and the likes, and as he says, what on earth are they doing in the middle of a field? But I suppose when you're finding whiskey miniatures and gin miniatures, you kind of think, well, maybe the farmer was having a bad day.
Andy, I gotta say this. Andy said I had an Emperor Napoleon coin in the middle of a field in Suffolk. How do you say that?
Yeah.
Suffolk, that's right.
Suffolk.
Yeah.
I was close, huh?
You've got we've come up with a bit of a thing for the show. Readers, listeners, or readers of the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, weirdest metal detecting finds.
Right. Right, that's interesting.
So come on, everyone who's listening tonight, what is your weirdest? And keep it clean. Mine, would you believe, was a I don't know if it was Second or First World War tank.
Oh, wow.
I was doing some work back, must have been in 2002, for the Gwynedd Archaeological Trust on Anglesey, and there was a bit of a mound, so I'm bleeping away, and it was a very old, very, very old garret I was using at the time, and it was going on, and I wasn't very experienced, it was going off its head, so I asked my mate to come over and have a look, so we dug up a hole, and it was the turret entrance to it, so obviously he was like, cover it up, we're not having a ministry fence here, cover it up, and this was me being very, very novice, as in first or second time, with no internet to research things or anything. And it's turned out that what we found out that at the end of the war, obviously a lot of tractors and parts and such like, they weren't getting made because of the war effort making tanks and such like. So at the end of the war, they used the surplus tanks and sold them off, and they were actually being used on farms throughout the country. Stripped down massively, of course, but being used for them. So we think it was probably one of them. And I've been back since. I've been past, because I know exactly where it is at Anglesey, and it's not there anymore.
That's where my wife's family are from. Anglesey.
Oh, right. I've got a lot of family over there too.
Beautiful place. Mm-hmm. Oh. So is anybody coming up with their weirdest finds?
Kev's had the shaver head.
Oh, I don't know those. Yeah,
Luke's had an actual iron.
with a
So what era was that? Was that one with a plug or the old-fashioned types? What's your weirdest find, Mike?
I was sitting here thinking, and I don't know. Probably, I was metal detecting. There's this fairgrounds I used to go to where I pulled out massive amounts of silver coins, and I went right after the fair one time because it's the last fair in the state, and I like metal. I'm a fat guy. I like when it's cooler. That's when I do all my metal detecting. And I went out and I'm walking along and I'm kind of lost in my own little world. And I just happened to glance down before I stepped on it, a used condom. And, I did not find it with my detector, but I almost found it with my foot. Other than that, I'm really trying to think. I at an old school, like turn of the century, 1900. I know that's not old for you guys, but it's halfway old for us. and behind it, I think I found somebody's coin collection that had been stolen. There was a Spanish like 8 real, and I can't remember some of the other denominations now, but they were kind of like world coins, and so that was odd and out of place. But nothing crazy. I've heard of gold teeth being found.
Body parts.
Yeah, I've heard of people.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really have anything crazy. What about you guys?
Derek Naylor found a lead fingertip. A prosthetic lead a prosthetic lead fingertip. That was a weird one.
That is weird. Yeah.
I got off to stay with the tank. Can't think of anything smaller.
Go big or go home.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty odd.
What
would your most unusual find be, Dean?
I don't know. I would say it would definitely be could be the fish ring, because it was so weird looking, because I twisted round koi carp. But I'm trying to think of what I've got in the drawer. I've all sorts of stuff in there. I did find a pot-belly stove. They used to have them in tents, World War II tents. Big old pot-belly stove. And it's got like a turtle motif. I can't remember the make of it, castle or something. And it was when it was upside down. And at first I thought, I've got another one. Actually, I've just remembered. It was upside down, so I thought, it must be a car part or something. And as I pulled it out and turned it over, it was the actual plaque that's in front of that. But one of my early hunts on the first permission, I pulled out what looked exactly like a Roman helmet, proper. I got really excited, and I actually nipped over to one of the farms, and I said, I couldn't, I don't suppose you. And he went, I see you found one of my old pig feeders. It was a smashed cast iron pig feeder. Yeah, so that was that exciting. So I suppose that was one of my most disappointing finds. Really, I was all excited. Yeah, okay then. I'll stick it over there. He said, I'll use that.
I'll tell you something I recently rediscovered that I think's pretty cool. I can't say that it's weird. I'm a little disappointed in myself for not remembering where it came from. I keep my stuff pretty well gathered and documented. I've got just a bucket full of stuff that I can't throw away. Most of us have that, and I was going through it with my stepson over the summer and showing him some stuff, and I pulled out what I originally thought. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, although I'm in Texas now. Dayton, Ohio is like a big hub for machining, and GM was there. They had 3 factories in Dayton area and stuff, but something we come across pretty common is tool tags. You've got your tag and you want a tool, and you take your tag up and you get your tool. And when you bring it back, you get your tag back. And I was showing him that, and I started looking at it, and I had found so many of these I'd never really paid attention. This was actually a World War I dog tag.
Oh, wow.
And I'm almost embarrassed that I didn't. I don't know how long ago I found it. I don't know where. I just found it, and I thought it was a tool tag. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty cool. Rediscovered kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh. Was it readable then?
Oh yeah, it's readable.
Oh wow.
I'm hoping to track down the family. I would love to return it, but so far I haven't had any luck. But it is something I hope I can get returned. I think, that's, for me, that's one of those things that really doesn't belong with me, Yeah. And I'm going to be quite embarrassed if I do find somebody and they ask, where did you find it? I don't remember. It's horrible.
Wow. But in the field. That's how it is, really, sometimes. No, I'm going through racking my brains to think of what else I've got in the drawer in the garage.
Right.
In the drawers in the garage. Plenty of shotgun shells, plenty of moo tubes.
Hey, what are moo tubes? What are they exactly?
Well, it's to do with cows.
Yeah.
And and mastitis, believe it or not. What they do is when they get the cows coming through, the vet will inject medicine using like the little metal tubes with like they come with a red cap on them, and then the cap's taken off. And then one of my videos, I found the needle in the field, which is why I wear gloves. So I found the needle, but they inject it into the udder, and it prevents mastitis. So obviously, the cows can be well. But what they do is then, obviously, they in the cow sheds, all the cow sheds get swept out, and then it gets spread on the fields. That's how they get out there. Well, sometimes I think the vet might do it in the field, but farmers would know better than me. But they are cow medicine tubes.
And believe us, Mike, when you finally come over to the UK, you will find them, and you will find they are the bane of your metal detecting hobby, because every single one has the same hit rate as a certain type of coin.
Oh yeah, honestly, it's a beautiful signal. Ping, ping, ping.
You'll get so excited, and then you'll find a curled up tube of bloody medicine.
And it's and on top of, ironically enough, speaking of weird finds, on top of that, you'll probably find toothpaste tubes, shaving foam or shaving cream tubes. I've had those from when the military camp out in various places. Brilliant.
And then there's also the British joke fought by detectorists of Campbell rings off old-fashioned before they are now, where they stay on when you open a can of beer or a can of pop. They pull them off, throw them away, and there are people who do actually able to find out exactly what they are.
I recently I saw somebody published a picture of almost ring pulls through the ages. But I'd have thought, because the old ring pulls were like you rip them off and they didn't stay with the can. But the new ones, obviously, you twist and they stay with the can. But people still, my daughter does it actually. They still bend them till they snap and throw them away. So you still get them in fields. Normally, along the edges of fields where people have, done a bit of fencing, add a can of pop. Done a bit of fencing, add a can of pop.
Or walking down the road and throw it in the field.
Yeah.
Here's another funny story about Dayton, Ohio. Kettering is a suburb of Dayton, Ohio, where I grew up. And the man who invented the pull tab is from Kettering, Ohio, and buried there. And I have had days metal detecting where I thought, one more pull tab, I'm jumping in my truck, I'm driving to his grave, and I'm urinating on it. Like, pull tabs and bottle caps are killer here in the United States. I don't know what they're like there, but, man.
Well, detecting Rose 22, we talked about how it's such a good signal, and she in her last video she said this Bud Light bottle cap is for Shilling King. We discussed the fact that they're beautiful signals, but they are rubbish. And I've got they're just they're lovely signals. It's coin shaped, isn't it? Well, but I found a couple. This is again why I wear gloves with the glass still in the top, because you see the bottle cap, you go, as you pick it out comes the broken glass with it. So that's why I always say wear gloves, and wear gloves.
Yep. Not just that, of course, there is the other health and safety aspect where you never know what bloody animals are pooing out or what contagion you could occur.
Yep. If you've ever detected around a feeding area, like where they pile up all the hay, sheep tend to eat and poo at the same time. Well, that's what they generally do, and then
sounds like me.
Right. And then they trample it in, and of course the hay makes like a layer across the top. So you dig a hole, and what you're digging into is a sealed, compressed, lost poo, and that is a bad smell.
And then you've also got obviously rats and leptospirosis. What have you?
Yeah. And on top of, as I say, finding that needle from the mastitis, the moo tubes. If I'd have just dipped my hand in with no gloves on, and that had gone into me, well, who knows? Yeah.
And I'd actually like to meet the person who came up with the term moo tube and shake the hand, because that's fantastic.
Isn't it? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I'd found one, wondered what it was, and somebody had said, "Oh, that's a moo tube." So somebody must have started it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What are the rubbish? What are the rubbish things? It's got to be the worst. What's the worst?
Oh, the worst find. That's a good one. I'll tell you what I did find, actually, what was good, thinking about it. I did a charity event in Rochdale for the mayor of Rochdale. And it was the first one actually done. Interestingly, there's a guy found a brilliant pulse Dave Bronze Age axe head at the site. But a guy came up to me at the end. He said, "Dave, can you come down to the stream? I've found something." There must have been 12, 13 different army surplus gasoline tanks. What they call it, you put the bullets in and all that Boris stories.
Oh, yeah.
Can't believe it. There's another good find from a site. Interestingly, I've sold all them on bloody Facebook or what have you, and put that into group funds.
Nice.
Send some more of the money over to the mayor as well.
Nice one. Mm-hmm. Always good to put.
And one of the guys we actually sold it to, he was building a trike at the time, so he's actually used these parts on his trike to make it into army surplus motorbike. And one of these, it was like, I don't know, it was like a shell tube, like a bazooka tube, but a smaller one. Yeah. He said it's perfect for putting a bottle of Jack Daniels in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're always handy after the fact. I think they're throwaway items, generally speaking. It's just boxes, throw them away. But they're generally made quite well and very useful. Mm-hmm.
No, one of them thinks so. Why the hell were they in that place? Never know.
Yeah.
Kevin in chat said shotgun shells are the worst, and I totally disagree. And hear me out, okay? You guys, your history goes back. I mean, the United States. It's not even, it's not even a joke, or we're a joke compared to your guys' history. I mean, we have our own neat history, but it just doesn't go back as far. I get it. Shotgun shells are. Most people here in the United States sell them or throw them away. I'm sorry, but you can date shotgun shell heads, and you can come across some rare ones. Yep. I think they look brilliant. I know guys who have taken the best of the best and the rarest of them and made cases out, made display cases, and that I think is brilliant and cool. So Kevin, I got to disagree because I think there's some really cool ones, especially when you find one that's rare, and at least it's something you can date. Pull tab, a bottle cap. I don't care. Can't date them.
If you find it nice, I don't know whether you found, Dave, but I've had a couple of pinfire ones, and they're like sort of, what are they? Late 17 or 18 and something like that. I can't do it. There we go again. Not knowing my dates. But they're really old, and if you find them in good condition, most of them buff up well. I've had a couple, I didn't realise, once I've sort of had a closer look, I've had a couple that are actually made in this area, locally. So that's good.
Kevin said bullet shells and shotgun shells are different here. I'm not sure what he means.
I don't know. I do find a lot. I find reasonable amount from the Second World War when they actually issued when they issued. Farmers. Was it the Home Guard? They had sporting shotguns, so they would issue. I'm trying to think of the maker now. That's gone anyway. They would issue shotgun cartridges for the protection of the local areas and stuff to the Home Guard. Dad's Army, effectively. Find a lot of them.
Do you know what Dad's Army is, Mike?
No.
It's a 70s TV program comedy based around a Dad's Army, which was the Home Guard during the war, made up of all the older people and people who couldn't go to war.
Oh, cool.
Very funny.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah. There's only about one or two of the characters left now, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And they made the remake last year or the year before.
Yes, that's right. They made a new film with Catherine Zeta-Jones and...
Toby Jones out of...
Detectorist.
Detectorist, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we got around to it. That was good. That was a very, very good... See, I did that on purpose, leading you into it. There is actually a Facebook group, isn't there? The DMDC.
Is there really?
yeah.
Mike, have you ever watched the Detectorist, the British?
I love it. Yeah, of course I've seen that. I love the very first episode of the first season where he's got his loop out looking at that pull tab and telling you like what it came off of. Man, I was hooked the second I seen that. It's like, yep, I'm digging this. This is going to be good.
79.
Yeah. That's what it was, wasn't it? I like British humor and comedy is different. We don't have that, and I love like you guys. A lot of your stuff is so dry, but if you pay attention, it's really funny. And that's kind of.
There's a good instance between British and America here. There's two shows that were made in England originally, being Shameless and the other one name eludes me. Oh, The Office. They were taken over to America, and as English people, hated them, couldn't stand them, diabolical, destroyed them. But the Americans don't get the British humour, so they don't get what it was actually about. If you watch the English versions, you'd obviously enjoy the American version more because your humour's your humour.
Yeah,
it does. It works, doesn't it? It works over there. I was going to say exactly that, especially with The Office. You watch an episode and it is funny, but it's a different type of funny. Still funny. So I laugh at Friends.
Shh! Don't say that.
Yeah, I love that show, the Detectorist. I haven't finished season 3. When you're at home all day with the kids, you start it. It'll take all day to watch an episode, and you don't even remember how it started and stuff. But and Steph wants no part of it at night. So, but yeah, I will get it in. The first 2 seasons were just amazing. Well, I watched the first 2 seasons over, but I haven't seen all of season 3 yet.
Don't forget the Christmas special as well.
And the Christmas special, yeah.
What's that?
We do. Oh, we always do Christmas specials.
They made a one-off for Christmas, which was about Lance finding something in particular and then having bad luck until he put it back again. That's all I'm going to tell you. Fantastic.
Yeah. You'll love it. Yeah, look for the Christmas special, definitely. Yeah, it's good. Oh. This San Miguel is going down rather well.
So what's next for you anyway in metal detecting? Have you got any plans for the future? Is there anything that you hope to achieve with regard to detecting?
No, I'm quite happy, like most, to plod along, get out every now and again, make little videos, steadily grow the YouTube's. I mean, to be fair, I'm the number of followers on YouTube. I don't do it for that, but it's nice to know that it grows because of what you do, type thing. I'm progressively getting better at editing and what have you. So that's it makes it more entertaining. When my daughter watches YouTube, some of the channels she watches, they're just crazy, and they've got millions of views, millions of subs, and they do all it's makeup and making slime and stuff. And I think, well, I'm not doing too bad then with my couple of hundred views and stuff. I just while I'm enjoying it, I'll keep doing it. If it gets too much of a bind, I mean, as I said, the last 2-3 weeks it's been really busy at work, and I haven't had the time to to spend time watching people's videos, commenting, because you have to spend quite a reasonable amount of time catching up. There's a lot of content. Did somebody say it's YouTube? 500 hours a minute is uploaded to YouTube. Is that right? Something like that.
Wow! It's getting saturated. I know that.
Oh yeah, I think that's that. I mean, you've got to really sort of be tuned into what you subscribe to and what you watch. My daughter subscribed to 4 different channels yesterday. I only found out today when I got something when a video popped up from somebody else. Who on earth is that? Oh, right.
Daily Bumps.
Yeah. Things like that. I think, what on earth is that?
Opening Kinder eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Making slime. opening presents, spending 24 hours in a swimming pool, spending. Have you seen the 3 a.m. ones?
No.
It's they. You know for a fact the parents are involved, but it's sort of kids of my daughter's age, and they're up at 3 a.m. I'm going to stay in this supermarket till for 24 hours and things like this. And to be fair, the kids love watching them. It's just entertainment, but they have like massive amounts of views.
Have you also noticed that your kids start having American accents as well, though?
Oh yeah, my eldest daughter is 15 now, and she's regularly puts things in the trash. She grabs a bunch of things, and I don't correct her because that's the way the world's changing.
My granddaughter from Liverpool, actually, they've just lived in Birkenhead, actually had a physical American accent.
Yeah, because she watches so much YouTube, and invariably she watches Nickelodeon, and when you think the Dutch, listen to the Dutch accent. They post-war, all they had was American TV, or a high percentage of it. And we have relatives. Well, half my wife's family are Dutch, and they have a distinct American twang. I don't know if you noticed that, Mike.
Who? I'm sorry. Mike's been on the loony juice.
Yeah. I was just thinking of
No, I didn't hear who you said who you were talking
Dutch.
about.
We were just mentioning our children sort of developing the American twang or using American phrases because.
No, I heard all that. Yeah, no, I heard. I just didn't catch the very last part. You were just saying.
Oh, we were talking. I mentioned the Dutch because the Dutch post Second World War had a very high percentage of American TV was all they had, I believe, or something like that. And they, if you listen, as I said, half my wife's family are Dutch. There is, well, I don't know. Well, that's why I was saying, have you noticed that? Would you notice that?
I haven't. I guess I haven't had much interaction with the Dutch, but I catch myself calling people mate and stuff now. Luke and I talk quite a bit, and I'm starting to pick up on some of how you guys talk, and it's like, it concerns me that I'm gonna have a proper English accent here before long.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't say that. It'll take a while. What? That's how we talk, don't you know?
We do on American films, etc.
Yes, we're invariably the baddies, don't you know?
Oh, we are Hugh Grant.
Yeah. It is true. My 8-year-old daughter knows that. She did ask me, Daddy, why are all the baddies in these films like us? I said, what do you mean? She said, well, they talk like us. I said, do you mean they're British? Yeah. Yes. Well, I don't know. We're good at being baddies. I don't know. We've been baddies since. Oh, what was the year? You kicked us out 1760 something. After somebody had a cup of tea in Boston or something.
Right. Let's not go there.
No.
I try to stay off that subject. No hard feelings.
Oh.
Yeah, it's speaking of accents, Steph, my fiance's from Minnesota, northern Minnesota, and she's got quite a bit of Canadian accent. I mean, like it's not about, it's a boot, and her sister, yeah, and her sister was on the phone earlier, and she had pizza left over, so she was taking a big of pizza to work, and I'm like, what's big pizza? I'm confused. I'm thinking it's a Minnesota thing. She said a bag of pizza. And I'm saying, there's certain words that they pronounce a little bit strange, but I love listening to you guys talk with your proper. My favorite thing, I think, ever British was Luke Higgins did a video metal detecting. He didn't have long. That's his excuse, but he's in like a suit and a tie and one of those.
Oh yes.
I don't even know what kind of hat that is. What's that hat? I love those. I want one of those hats.
Peaked cap.
Yes.
And he's out there with his proper English talking about, and I'm just like, oh, Luke, I love it. That is awesome, man.
I can swear to God now, the entire weekend we were at Detectable. Even when he went to bed, Luke wore a cap. The entire period we were there.
He has got style, isn't he? Fair play.
I had to ask him to take it off so I could see if he actually had hair underneath.
To see what he was covering. What have you got under your hats?
That's funny.
See, obviously, me and Dave are northerners, but you'll find where I live now, they talk more like the people in Detectorist.
He'd be black and hairy, you know, he'd be afraid of it.
Yeah. Although my eldest hasn't, my youngest is developing. She's been here, I say we've been here 4 or 5 years. She has sort of a southwest twang. And it's similar, ironically enough, to the Norwich twang, which is sort of East Anglia, apparently.
Crazy, weird. Yeah, I don't know your guys' dialect.
Yes, yeah,
right. Yeah, I don't. You all sound very similar to me enough that I couldn't pick that out. But
there's people in different regions of this country I can't understand the word they're saying.
Right.
And that's not. I mean, I've got family in Scotland, and I have conversations with my cousin. I have to tell her to text me, and she even talks in Scottish when she's texting, and I can't understand her.
That's funny. That's funny because there's a guy. I've got a neighbor who is from Scotland. Yeah, he's from Scotland, and he sounds the same to me as you guys do. Like, it's all kind of the same. I don't pick out, but you guys obviously can pick out when it's some southern United States.
He's got to be from Edinburgh, then. Well, we can definitely. I can distinguish between the southern drawl and the New York twang, or whatever it is. Yeah, you do. Although not knowing all of them, you can't clearly distinguish. But yeah, I mean, Dave's from the other side of the Pennines from me. I'm from Yorkshire, and he's from. Well, is it Lancashire, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's although you wouldn't I can tell. It's more if it's close to a Mancunian accent, then you know. Whereas if the talks like that, they're from Yorkshire, But I don't have my thick Yorkshire accent. I lost that a long time ago.
I'm from Ellesmere Port. It's just a state of its own. Nobody knows what we speak.
Ellesmere Port.
Ellesmere Port.
What's that famous for?
It's Shell, oil refinery.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I've definitely heard it.
Full of canals. Cheshire Oaks shopping centre.
You're off. But you're generally off do shopping. That's what my friend of mine used to do. Where was she from? I'm trying to think where she was from now. But she didn't say I'm going shopping. She would say I'm off doing shopping. It's quite twangy. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So now your YouTube channel.
Yes.
More about that. How long's the YouTube channel been running? And what's it called? So obviously listeners can jump on board and have a look at that.
Yeah. It's Shilling King Metal Detecting UK, spelt as you imagine. And I mean, it's been. I'm trying to think. I was going to have a look and write it down when I started. But it's a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I think there's about 100 and there's some scootering videos on there because I did some of that before I started this. I've moved that aspect of across now to another channel. But it's Shilling King Metal Detecting UK. Should I say that clearly? Because I have got a bit of an accent of like Shilling King Metal Detecting UK.
You nailed it. If I can understand it clearly, you're good. Hey, and you also have the same Facebook group by the same name.
On the swing of that, exactly. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Sussex Seekers MDC. Oh, I'm subscribed to you actually. Nice folks. I've got a Facebook group as well, exactly the same name, and that is it's a closed group, So I like to keep. I know there are certain miscreants about who would otherwise mess up good people's fun. So I try to keep my ear to the ground and spot those. There are a couple. I was just about to remember one actually, but it's gone. You know, people who just come in and try to ruin the pie. So it's generally speaking full of good, very, very good people. Including Dave.
We're gonna give a quick shout out to Kevin. He said his is Sussex Seekers MDC.
MDC, yes. Oh, is that Kevin? Oh,
yep.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Kevin, for your subscription then, because it just came up there. I'm pretty sure I'm sub to you already, sir. But if I'm not, I'm just scribbling it down. I shall check. In fact, you can see it on the thing anyway. Ah, there you go. Thank you, Laura Higgins. Hey, that's
Dean, I asked to join the Facebook group. You better let me in.
Do you know what? It normally comes down from the top. Hold on a minute.
Unless you just don't want an American in there, I asked to join.
There's plenty. Well, Scott and Kim are in there. There's loads. As I said, it's international. There's Australians. There's New Zealanders. Anzacs. There you go. There's loads. Americans, Canadians. Liz is in there, digging Canuck. One of my all-time favourites of all time. Right, just a minute. Chiching. Oh, dear, I pressed the wrong button. I'm multitasking.
Right. You're a man, you can't.
Yeah, right.
Where is it?
Hey, guys, my bladder says our time's about up.
Okie dokie. Hold on a minute. I'll have to have a look in a bit.
Oh, no, go ahead. We're not in that big of a rush. We got them. I'm just when we can, I'd like to wrap it up and
yeah.
Go to the restroom and
Hey, well, I've been multitasking tonight. I've actually, where am I up to? I've got scheduled posts up until last thing on Friday, the 12th of October now, so I've done quite well there.
I didn't quite catch what you were saying, Dave. What's that?
I've actually done okay tonight multitasking. I've got up until next Friday, the 12th of October, scheduled 4 posts a day at least.
Oh, nice.
Obviously,
nice.
So you know, things. I'm actually at the moment. I'm doing one called "How Much Do You Know About the Tunnels of Nottingham?" Start me up on there next Friday evening at 8 p.m. ish.
Nice.
Tunnels of Nottingham.
Aye, they're very well known actually. There's a lot going on down there, different tunnels and what have you. And the ones I like about even more are the Williamson tunnels in Liverpool. You heard about them?
No, I haven't. Actually.
Oh, these were actually. Now, don't quote me. I've probably got a little bit wrong, but I'm on the right track. People were coming back from the war and had nothing to do. I'm not sure it was the first or the second. And a entrepreneur in Liverpool, Mr. Williamson, decided to get them to build tunnels for no apparent reason. There's no actual apparent reason. If you Google it, you'll find them online and what have you. But yeah, some of the archaeological finds that they're finding from the period that they were manufactured are quite surprising. Really, really interesting. I did get an invite to go down and do an article for the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine last year. Unfortunately, I haven't got round to it yet with things that have been going on in life. So that hopefully will occur. But as I say, have a look for the Williamson tunnels in Liverpool. Fantastic.
Oh, I can't write it down quick enough. Start talking right. No, I love that. How weird is that, though? How weird is that? Yeah. How many tons, Mike? 2.
I'm sorry. What are you
your
asking?
Your answer to the swallow question. Cool. Them's big 2
tons. Yeah, 2 tons.
Go for it.
That's all I could come up with.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah. I mean, the fun questions. It's just some people don't answer the questions, but it's a bit of fun. But as I say, it's a closed group simply because it's just that, you know, it's a filter, really. So just cool people are in there.
I just subscribed to your YouTube and Kevin's YouTube. Guys, I will be honest with you. With the kids and everything, I struggle to spend much time on there, but I will get around to more of them and watch them. I love watching what you guys are doing over there. And
I know exactly what you mean.
I will, but I did watch some of yours earlier through the week to get an idea about you and stuff, and but I'll watch more too. Definitely found them entertaining, but good deal.
I try to make us as entertaining. I mean, how can you make a square nail entertaining unless you call it a mouse spear?
Right, right.
From the great mouse wars, things of that nature. It just makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
and
I was watching one this morning. Well, this morning after I got back from metal detecting, I was laughing about that. The mouse cannon. That was funny.
Yeah, that was. Oh. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was that. Subsequently, I found that it's actually a mouse turret from the mid to late mouse period.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, guys, we ready to wrap it up?
Yeah,
my bladder says it's time. We're ready. So, hey, go ahead. No,
I was just going to say thanks very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been such great fun. And it was great to meet you, Mike, and also you, Dave.
And yourself.
Dean, same, and thank you for coming on. We enjoyed it, and thank you so much. So, and Dave, a wonderful job, man. I love having you on, and you're awesome at it. So, looking forward to it, buddy.
Anytime, Paul. Anytime.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Cheers out. Bye.
Well, there you have it. And somewhat successful. I do make mistakes, and we get through it, though. Don't forget, next Thursday, the 11th, we will have Gary Blackwell from XP. The following Thursday, the 18th, we will have Delic from Macro Nocta. So stay tuned. I think we'll have some fun in the next few weeks, and it should just be a blast. Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it.